Ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. This is from Colin Rugg on X. I don't have X, I don't have Instagram, I don't have Facebook, but this is very important, and we'll get to the Fox News article. You will hear from Laura Ingraham and Jonathan Turley in a second. Hit subscribe to this channel. Leyland, thank you so very much, sir, for your super chat. God bless you, sir. And Colin Rugg, let's get started. Breaking. Criminal referral has been sent to the Department of Justice accusing New York Attorney General Letitia James of mortgage fraud. How the tables have turned. Fox News is now reporting the Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to Attorney General Pam Bondi against James. James is accused of falsifying records to receive more favorable loan terms, including for a property in Virginia that she allegedly claimed would be a primary residence. Remarkable. Wow. This, ladies and gentlemen, is unbelievable. What a turn of events. Gee, what are the chances that a Democrat in Tammany Hall or a Democrat in any blue state and major city in this country commits a crime? We could just go down quickly down memory lane. Right here, Atlanta Democrat sentenced. This is 10 months ago to 7 years. New York Attorney General, this was 6 years ago, before Letitia James. He resigned amid abuse allegations. We don't have to go through Cuomo and the collapse of him as governor. And then Fonnie Willis with the issue of cash, and we'll talk about this after we get to exactly what took place with Letitia James. But hit subscribe to this channel. The indictment is almost a certainty when you look at what's taking place. If Pam Bondi gets a criminal referral, they've pretty much decided that the indictment is going to take place. In my humble view, hit subscribe to this channel. This is huge.
Important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
They accused Trump of that, but Trump never had to do anything of the sort. The lenders themselves, Deutsche Bank, gave him, $2 billion. They were willing to continue to give him hundreds of millions of dollars because of the brand, because he was president, because he's part of Americana. They're very different from a Democrat in a blue state, very powerful Democrat who potentially committed crimes. Extremely different. Democrats and Republicans, but the Democratic Party is a little bit different. They've been using politics to enrich themselves since the late 1800s, early 1900s. You can look at Tammany Hall. It's not that much different, okay? There's a reason that the Clintons and the Bidens and Joe Biden preemptively pardon everyone around him. There's a reason that Pelosi, for example, has hundreds of millions of dollars along with the Clintons, and Biden suddenly got very, very wealthy. And there was a laptop we couldn't talk about. And Clinton had private servers. Anyway, let's continue.
He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and law professor at GW University. Jonathan, mortgage fraud is rampant in the United States. There's all sorts of fraud that's rampant. There's disability fraud that they've vowed to crack down on in the Trump administration. But this is another thing. And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and law professor at GW University. Jonathan, mortgage fraud is rampant in the United States. There's all sorts of fraud that's rampant. There's disability fraud that they've vowed to crack down on in the Trump administration. But this is another thing that they have vowed to crack down on because it costs real money. Your reaction to these allegations?
Well, obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York in not just the civil but the criminal case was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014 of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans. So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So,
did I just hear that correctly? What does that even mean? How on earth is that even possible? Let's assume for a second that the Attorney General is innocent of this and this didn't happen. So I am going on record as saying there's no possibility that this actually took place. It is so outlandish. However, if I'm proven wrong, that just goes to show you how the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats, how they conduct business.
What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know...
What? What? And there are other questions regarding a congressperson also? And so what's going on here? And these are the good people who are standing up to the orange Cheeto Mussolini madness.
The Supreme Court just stated earlier in March, in a case called Thompson, that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
If you're going after Trump, you want to imprison Trump. If you're going after Trump and you're doing this type, I mean, potentially, let's assume Letitia James is innocent. And there's no evidence at this moment that we've seen that she's guilty. So we can just assume that she's innocent. Let's say that she is indicted. I think that the indictment is going to be imminent. I don't think President Trump is messing around. I don't think Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, it's only been 4 months, less than 4 months, people. I mean, give it a couple of more, give some time. But I mean, this is the corruption is unbelievable within the Democratic Party and the old school Republican Party. I don't think the more populist Republicans actually believe in their value system, unlike Democrats and unlike the old Republican Party. But they wanted to go after Trump, and every single person who went after Trump, every single person, you can go down the list. The old Attorney General of New York, Andrew Cuomo. We can just, this is not in order. Okay, so just off the bat, just think. We can play a little political, I don't even know, Trivial Pursuit at this moment. If you're watching right now, think. You get a prize if you can name all the people whose lives were ruined or whose lives have been altered or potentially face criminal conduct now or legal consequences for trying to take down Trump. There's the wonderful bureau agents, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Andrew McCabe, who the Honorable James Comey stated he might testify against. There are 2 Department of Justice people. I believe they're Bruce Orr. There's then another person. Then there's 5 people right there. You have Avenatti, 6. Stormy didn't do herself. Stormy made out without, legal consequences. So we'll leave Stormy out of this. The Attorney General in New York prior to James. Then you have Alec Baldwin, whose life, who accidentally took a life. But of course, he's in the Democratic Party, so I think Democrats and media and liberals have forgotten that. Let's see. What's her name? The comedian who had the effigy, the head of the president in her hand. What's her name? Okay, that's 10 people right there. Juicy Smollett, 11. There's others too. You can kind of add Joy Reid because just the endless focus on Trump. We can go on forever. Anyway, hit subscribe if you're new.
Yeah, well, Jonathan, we reached out to the DOJ, and they have no comment on this referral. We also reached out to Attorney General James, who did not respond to us either. So, again, everyone wants the best interest rate.
That property was their, and one of these sections, Section 1014 of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans. So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know, the Supreme Court just stated stated earlier in March in a case called Thompson that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
Yeah, well, Jonathan, we reached out to the DOJ, and they have no comment on this referral. We also reached out to Attorney General James, who did not respond to us either. So, again, everyone wants the best interest rate you can get. I understand that. But, she's a lawyer. She knows that when you sign a mortgage application, that mortgage application, if you're borrowing money, if you're not borrowing money, nobody cares whether it's your principal residence, except, where you file your taxes. But she decided to state that that was her principal residence, knowing it was not her principal residence. I didn't even know she had property. I mean, I guess she had property in Virginia and she has rental or investment property in New York. That's fine. But in the New York matter, to get the favorable rate, the building could only have 4 units. But it looks like the entirety of this building, it had 5 units, meaning it was in violation of the actual loan agreement. And again, this is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan. As you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump, she was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right, and this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances. But
so that's also a bit bizarre. Let's listen to that again.
Actual loan agreement. And again, this is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan. As you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump, she was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right, and this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances, but according to her own standard, that's not enough.
So, it's just unbelievable. And this is just one of many examples of Democrats. This is the second attorney general in the second term of President Trump. So the first term, we had this gentleman right here. Yet another wonderful, morally superior Democrat. So if Letitia James did that, who knows what the prison term is? Who knows what the fine is? And that's probably one of just many potential indictments. You're talking about a political party. I mean, we could just hear, this was 6 years ago. New York Attorney General resigns amid allegations. This is I think it was Letitia James, probably the third Attorney General in the past 7 years. But listen to this.
This is a Fox News alert. A bombshell report tonight on alleged physical abuse of multiple women by New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, so-called champion of choice, and the...
These are the good, morally superior Democrats who don't go to Thanksgiving. Never got a dinner. Red buttons. Who remembers red buttons? One of the best. New York Democrats don't go to Thanksgiving with anyone who supports Trump. These are the good, morally superior, highly educated Democrats. They're such good people, possibly committing mortgage fraud and worse with Eric Schneiderman, potentially, possibly. Of course, he was innocent. Eric Schneiderman is completely innocent. He just happened to resign.
report is getting stunning reaction almost instantly. Trace Gallagher following the story live from our Los Angeles newsroom. Trace?
Shannon, the New York Attorney General initially tried to push back, but the allegations were ugly and damning, and within a few hours, Eric Schneiderman had resigned his office. 2 of the 4 women accusing Schneiderman of sexual misconduct publicly identified themselves. 2 did not. But all of them paint a similar portrait of a man who they claim drinks heavily and engages in physical and mental abuse before, during, and after sex. One of the women described...
And these are the Democrats, ladies and gentlemen, the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats in New York and elsewhere, who don't go to Thanksgiving dinner, who will disown you on a text message, who will not ever be seen with a Trump supporter. Oh, because it's about morality. Don't you know? This Attorney General... In addition to Letitia James, this Attorney General, then you have Andrew Cuomo, then you have... We don't even get started with Anthony Weiner. Don't go there. Don't even go there. It's like the Kenny Loggins danger zone. Danger zone. Don't go to the Anthony Weiner zone. Don't go to the Weiner zone. You don't want that. You want none of the Weiner zone.
Describes being in Schneiderman's Upper West Side apartment in Manhattan following a night out, saying he backed her up to the bed and, quote, all of a sudden he just slapped me open-handed and with great force across the face, landing the blow directly onto my ear. She claims Schneiderman accused her of scratching him, telling her that hitting an officer of the law is a felony. Before resigning, Schneiderman released a statement saying, quote, in the privacy of intimate relationships, I have engaged in role-playing and other consensual sexual activity. I have not slapped her across the face. Master. She too says the abuse.
I mean, it's impossible to be algorithmically friendly when you're talking about Democrats. I can't even. I'm trying to fast forward everything. This, that. I'm trying not to be algorithmically friendly. Okay?
Was not role-playing. Though Schneiderman's ex-wife, Jennifer Cunningham, has now weighed in, saying, quote, these allegations are completely inconsistent with the man I know, who has always been someone of the highest character, outstanding values, and a loving father. It's interesting to note that in 2013, Donald Trump tweeted, quote, Weiner is gone, Spitzer is gone, next will be lightweight AG Eric Schneiderman.
So New York has a wonderful track record. Spitzer is like he's nothing. He did nothing wrong compared to everybody else. Spitzer, Schneiderman, Weiner, Letitia James. These are the people. And let's not even get into the music industry or Hollywood. The epicenter of the Democratic Party, Hollywood, the Democrats, DC, the Washington establishment. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like Dante's Inferno. If you read Dante's Inferno, it's more PG, it's less offensive than the average, description of the wonderful, morally superior Democrats.
Is he a crook? Wait and see. Worse than Spitzer or Weiner. And last year, when Schneiderman sued the Weinstein Company for not protecting its employees from the alleged abuse of Harvey Weinstein, the New York Attorney General said this. Watch.
How many Democrats took donations from this man? How many Democrats have photos with this man? It's Hollywood. How many Hollywood celebrities knew and worked with this man? And this is the epicenter of the resistance against Trump, the morally superior resistance. Disowning friends and family, not going to Thanksgiving because somebody voted for Trump.
Women were coerced into facilitating Harvey Weinstein's misconduct. Sometimes they were targets themselves. If they refused, they were threatened with insults. Their careers were threatened. They were threatened with physical intimidation and violence.
No surprise, the New York Republican Party called tonight for Schneiderman to step down, but when New York Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo also called for his resignation, you knew the pressure was mounting.
So Eric Schneiderman, as far as we know, is innocent. That's the Democrats. They like to accuse. The accusation itself is evidence to the Democratic Party. So Eric Schneiderman he's innocent as far as I know, as far as you know. Letitia James, innocent as far as you know, as far as I know. Andrew Cuomo, innocent as far as we know. Let's just take a trip down memory lane. These are the Democrats who don't go to Thanksgiving because you voted Trump.
Panel early, former Education Secretary Bill Bennett, Harold Ford Jr., former Tennessee Congressman, CEO of Empowerment Inclusion Capital, and Byron York, chief political correspondent of the Washington Examiner. Bill,
start with tonight's topic.
So then there's Andrew Cuomo.
Bombshell investigation by the New York State Attorney General determined that Andrew Cuomo was a serial sexual abuser who...
So, I mean, these are innocent people. These are good, morally superior Democrats. The former Attorney General who was accused could be innocent. Anthony Weiner, who I think did do time. And now Cuomo. How many more? Alec Baldwin accidentally ended someone's life. This is a wonderful list of very morally superior people. You know what? The Democrats are morally superior, and they're highly educated. And if you voted Trump, they'll let you know how moral they are and how immoral you are.
Violated state and federal law. Cuomo saw the writing on the wall, officially announced his resignation effective 2 weeks from today. And during a speech that the New York Post editorial referred to as insulting and only self-serving, Cuomo proclaimed that he accepts full responsibility before listing all the reasons why he's not responsible for anything. Take a look.
I take full responsibility.
This is the man who said America was never great. You remember that? You can just look it up on YouTube. America was never great. I mean, it's just they'll just go with whatever they think is cool or hip or fashionable or a la mode. They have the Democrats think that they look at things and say, "Oh, this is a zeitgeist," and it's the opposite. They don't know how to read the room. Well, actually, if they don't have every single possible advantage, from social media algorithms to all of media to late night talk show hosts to every DC establishment, left and right, if they don't have every single possible advantage, they just crumble from the weight of their own corruption.
For my actions, I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been.
But this was not about just showing normal emotion. And this is the typical Democratic Party nonsense. It's the typical morally superior nonsense. You either demand categorical proof, or any accusation is now a fact and you must resign. So Biden was accused, but he didn't resign. No, the New York Times and Washington Post and others ran cover for him and went after his accuser. in the typical hypocritical fashion of the wonderful, morally superior. But look, I mean, it's just unbelievable. These are the same people who were telling the country how immoral and dangerous Trump was. Oh, he was so terrible. We haven't even gotten to Anthony Weiner yet.
Since I can remember, in my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn.
So we just talked about a bunch of Democrats in New York. Then there's Democrats in Fulton County. I mean, here we go.
Will's misconduct case after a wild two-day hearing last week. We all watched it together. A judge could remove the Fulton County DA from Georgia's Trump election meddling case, along with her lover, Nathan Wade. Last week, the judge heard dramatic testimony about their affair, their lavish trips together, and the lies they supposedly told.
Did you observe them do things that are common among people having a romantic relationship?
Yes.
Such as, can you give us an example?
Where the hell did you get the cash?
Republican challenger Nikki Haley says all this litigation is distracting Mr. Trump from important campaign.
So, I mean, we can go back to Andrew Cuomo.
Got a stunning new report. I'm sure you read it over the weekend. Report reveals close allies of former New York governor, disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo, including his top aide and former CNN anchor brother, allegedly plotted to discredit our very own Janice Dean. Janice became one of the most outspoken voices pushing to hold Governor Cuomo accountable after losing both her in-laws, Michael and Dee, to COVID-19 in New York nursing homes. Janice joins us now to react. Janice, when you're reading about a strategy that was talked about with his chief of staff and his brother, what are your thoughts to attack you and discredit you?
Not surprised at all, because very early on, I heard from a good source who knows the family very well to watch my back. This was before, any of the real press coverage, the hundreds of op-eds I wrote, all of the appearances that I did on Fox News. He told me, watch your back. And then Rich Azzopardi, Cuomo's henchman, was attacking not only me, but my sister-in-law on Twitter, saying, get a life, called us a death cult. So this was already in motion. This is how these guys react. They don't try to solve anything. They just attack the person that's coming after them.
And this was in Letitia James's report, a Democrat attorney general. And
we don't know that yet. We don't know if this was in the report. I don't know where these sources are coming from. I do hear Chris Cuomo was sending texts to Melissa DeRosa about me. And I wonder if that was on CNN letterhead.
That weather B word is evidently...
The weather B word, yeah. Listen, I'm not surprised, but what I am doing is I'm issuing FOIL reports, Freedom of Information law, to find out if my name or my family's name is in any of those official documents, because I want to know if there was a smear campaign against me.
And you say you're not stopping, right?
No, of course not. I've come this far. I'm going to continue to hold these people accountable. We still don't know what happened in nursing homes, why the governor put over 9,000 infected patients into nursing homes. Why did he?
You had nursing home scandals in California, Michigan, New York. A great percentage, something like 25 to 30% of the people who perished in the country were in nursing homes. Something like, you could correct me if I'm wrong. And the entire country was shut down. I mean, everything the Democrats have the reverse Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to you know what.
He cover up those numbers for so long to sell his $5.2 million book? Why was he giving his brother and other officials free COVID tests when nursing homes could not get them to save lives? There's a whole bunch of things that are still under investigation.
And by the way, if you have some time, there's some other Democratic governors did some crazy things with nursing homes too.
There were several
I know,
of them.
yeah. So let's, here's what the spokesperson said about what we just discussed. He said, I have no knowledge of this ever happening. And you must ask, why then did the Attorney General not put anything about her in the report or ask any of the relevant
I already know the
people
answer
about
to
it?
that.
Which is?
Which is the report was about the sexual harassment, not about nursing homes. And by the way, Rich as a party, he was the one that earlier on said, well, Janice Dean is not a credible source on anything except maybe the weather.
Unbelievable. We reached out to Chris Cuomo. We had no response.
Yeah, no one's denying anything, by the way.
Right. Very interesting. No response is a response. Meanwhile, your sister-in-law was on Fox and Friends First, which is a very good show. And she was talking about how she's trying to find some good in this. Let's listen.
Last Christmas, I started doing this with another group of women who all lost their mothers or dads in the facilities. We got together and we did it for Christmas, and it was great.
What they did in nursing homes, what they allowed to happen, Democrats, media, the wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, people who are preemptively pardoned, like Falsey, and the weak Republicans who were not Trump Republicans, the weak Republicans who didn't push back, who were afraid of the trust and safety team at Twitter, or media at that time still had power. They still had influence. Media has influence in American society, but greatly diminished. Greatly diminished. They couldn't stop Trump from 2 terms, and they couldn't stop Trump from winning the popular vote. What happened 5 years ago, it was like a dystopian nightmare, championed by the most apoplectic among us, the most apoplectic, morally superior, hysterical, highly educated, almost always wrong. And they live, I don't even want to get into it, but they live in this world where they fabricate this reality that doesn't exist. And they use data that is so distorted to prove that they were right all along. And the average American's like, no, you were wrong. In fact, you were so wrong that Falsey was preemptively pardoned. So there you go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. This is huge. Hit subscribe to this channel. Letitia James, the indictment is almost certainly going to take place. Almost certainly. Hit subscribe. Thank you all. God bless you all. I will see you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And this is unbelievable news.